So I've been a Canon user since the times of Canon 60. I had a 60, 60 Mark II, R5, C70 for the past 3 years or so. I love the camera, but when RED dropped their price for RED Komodo 6K to $3,000, it was really tempting to get one. And I decided to buy one just to get into the ecosystem and to learn a new body and see what's the hype about this camera. So right off the bat, the price of the camera will be way more than $3,000. You can expect spending at least another $1,000 or $1,500 extra on the camera because of things like the batteries, the media, grip, handles, monitor, and stuff like that. By the way, I am recording right now and on this camera in 6K. So I'm using autofocus and I have a little square right over here. So if you're using this camera for shots like interviews and like these, you can totally rely on autofocus, and especially if you connect the app. With the app, you get additional face tracking autofocus and it works pretty good. It's not as snappy as Canon and Sony, but it's getting up there. This camera takes time to turn on, I would say good 30 seconds. So if you are getting this camera for, let's say, wildlife, or you don't want to miss a moment, it will not work for you because unless you just have it running the whole time, you will have to wait until you turn on the camera, and then you're probably going to end up missing the shot. SD cards, as you are probably aware, it uses a CF card that is an old format. They're kind of slow, so the data, even in LQ, you can 2 days of filming. I was in Key West just filming travel stuff. The video linked over here. I made a little short film. It was about 400 gigs. So I have one card right now, 512 gigabytes, and I've used 380 or 400 gigs of media, and it took about 20 minutes to drop the media to the computer, which kind of sucks because I'm used to using Canon cards, which take 5 minutes max to drop the same amount of media. So they are kind of slow. It is what it is. Now the biggest downside of this camera is lack of built-in ND filters. I am so used to Canon ND filters in C70, it is crazy. And there are different solutions right now. I still haven't figured out the best solution for me, but I am using the ND filter from Canon, the drop-in ND filter. It's good, but if you have it wide open and if it's super bright outside, you close it all the way down, it's gonna introduce a very ugly blue tint, probably on like the last 2 stops. And it also kind of sucks because if you use that filter, you can use 0.71 Canon C70 adapter to make this camera into a full frame camera instead of S35 sensor. So I am looking to a solution maybe you guys can recommend. Coming from different bodies like Sony, I know everybody has to use ND filter in those cameras, especially like an FX3. What's a good screw-on filter? I've seen mixed reviews for different filters, so I'm in the market right now. I was looking at a Tiffin, also Apollo Pro sounds really expensive, and also I don't want to buy 3 or 4 different filters, and I'm not a fan of step rings, so it kind of sucks as far as the ND filter situation. But probably I'm going to end up buying a few different filters for my go-to lenses, and I'm just going to end up screwing them on the end. Hopefully they're not going to damage the image badly and not going to introduce any blue tint or anything like that. So as you know, this camera records in 6K, but 6K 17:9 or 16:9, 24 frames per second, 24, 30, and it actually does 40. And then when you do 4K, it drops down to 60. But what it does, it's not 4K of the full sensor. It's pretty much the full sensor 6K, and then 4K is the part of the sensor. So you get in a smaller area. So right out of the bat, you get a crop, and then you can do 4K 60 cropped, right? So your 35, for example, middle lens becomes 50 or so. Then if you do 2K 120, it even crops more. So it only uses 1/3 of a sensor. So like your 35mm becomes, I don't know, 100. And then if you use an S35, which is this camera sensor, not the full frame adapter for Canon, you are cropping a lot. So I would not even use this camera for slow motion unless you're okay with cropping a lot and using 2K at the end. But mostly I got this camera for myself for shooting interviews, steady tripod shots, global shutter, so if I need to whip pan or anything like that, or follow a subject, or hard mounted shots. I love hard mounted shots on the bike, on the car, stuff like that. So that's one of the use cases I will be using this camera for, so I don't need slow motion for that. Another interesting topic is autofocus. So this whole time, as I mentioned, this video has been recorded right now in 6K and LQ and using autofocus the whole time. So I basically put a square right over here. So hopefully I wasn't focused this whole time. I have a little monitor that's facing me and I have peeking on, so I'm able to tell if I'm in focus or not. This camera has continuous and single autofocus, and you can basically have a square anywhere on the screen. You can use the full screen, but you cannot subject track. The autofocus for the face with track and only works from the app, and I would say it only works about 75%. Sometimes it loses your face and it just tracks like a random object for some reason. But then in camera, once you have a square somewhere, even in the low light situations, it grabs into that and continuously grabs into focus. It's not the worst, but you cannot rely on it at all. So it's a good thing, like you'll just tap to focus and maybe switch it to manual. But if you want to rely on it and shoot a track an object, it's just not usable. You can't use it. I was holding the camera on a gimbal, trying to side by side shoot another skateboard as we were riding together. Half of the shots were out of focus, half of the shots were in focus, but they also would like kind of struggle. Let's say you're focusing from the board to a wheel and back and forth to the background. Also, it wouldn't really work when the sun would come into frame, so it'd start hunting, and I would not use it again in that kind of scenario. If you're buying this camera, and even if you used Canon or Sony or any other camera for a long time, it's really hard to edit the video, to color grade the video. I'm still in the process of learning. I also been getting a weird green tint, so I compensated with a lot that I found from RED, and it gets rid of it, or you can just introduce magenta to an image. But the good thing is that the dynamic range is crazy good. You can pull the shadows, highlights, and you can change the ISO in post in DaVinci, which is super nice. So let's say if you messed up your exposure, you can literally bring the file to DaVinci or Premiere or whatever you edit in and just change the ISO and fix your exposure. The noise level is also not bad. It's not as good as some of the mirrorless cameras, but I've shot in 1600 and 2000 ISO and I had minimal noise. But I'm afraid like 3200 would be the most that I would be using, and I will be probably using a denoise software in post for this camera. But it comes out as really clean shadows, really clean highlights. The roll off is beautiful. It has a really interesting image. So like, for example, like the mirrorless cameras have a really sharp image, right? C70 has this grainy, almost like muddy look. This camera does not have digital look, but it does not have grain, muddy look like the C70. But I would say it has like pleasing to an eye, grainy look, which is really cool. I'm still learning it myself, but I'll just play some shots, random shots that we filmed over last 2 weeks of playing with this camera, and then you'll see it for yourself. Well, that is it for me. Hope you guys liked the video. Like and subscribe. I will be posting more videos about this camera. Let me know what is particular topic you are interested in. But for now, see you next time. Peace.